All right, the watch list for Monday, November 14th. I'm going to start throwing this up at the beginning of every video. It's just a quick way to explain when you're watching the video. Keep this in mind, okay? I'm a day trader. I never hold anything overnight, not even my wife. So I look for stocks with chart setups that have a strong potential of giving me a good trade tomorrow. All right, that's what this list is all about. It's stocks that might give me a good trade tomorrow. So keep that in mind when watching the video. Now, I hate being underwater on a stock, so that's why I trade the way I do. So what I do is I use this list plus the gappers that we find in the morning. Then I look for intraday setups that if and when they trigger, using my time-tested entry strategies, I've been doing this for a long time and I've kind of settled in on this exact strategy here, that if and when they trigger, they should give me a nice quick move in my desired direction. So I stay in cash unless and until I get a trigger and all my parameters are met. And if that happens and I get that quick move I'm looking for, I sell part of my position quickly. So I have a can't lose trade within minutes. What I mean by a can't lose trade is I put some money in my pocket on that move that I was expecting. So then the rest of my shares I'm going to protect and make sure the trade doesn't turn into a loss. All right. With this method, I rarely have a red day and I sleep pretty well at night. So I probably won't get into that detail of an explanation. From now on, I'll just probably read it. Okay. But anyway. That was the first day for that disclaimer. So here we go. I'm just showing you a SPY real quick, which is fairly ugly. A lot of lower highs, lower lows. Actually, Friday it broke down and broke through these November lows. So it's not looking very pretty. Now keep in mind we have 2 trading days left, Monday and Tuesday, before the FOMC decision. And normally, people, who cares, it's no big deal. But this time it actually might be a big deal because they are actually talking about maybe bumping up rates, right? So a lot of eyes on this one, and it could cause a lot of volatility, and a lot of people seem to be positioning themselves ahead of that. So keep that in mind. All right, it might be fairly choppy the next couple days as people keep trying to position themselves and guess what's going to happen and so on. So keep that in mind. All right. So anyway, let's start with EYES. I still like this one a lot. You had this pop back here. You had this pop here. We had some really nice trades in it this day. And then, which actually briefly took out the highs of this pop. I like the volume coming in recently. I like the long consolidation below here. So we've got a lot of support below. So this one looks like it's got more upside to me. Friday's high was 625. I really like it over 625. So 626 could get us right back through this 635 high. Maybe a quick move to 7. Who knows? Maybe a move to 8. This is a lower float stock starting to get some attention. So I like this setup a lot. GoPro, GPRO, we had really nice trade in this one on Thursday. I didn't do anything with it Friday. I actually only worked, conceivably you could argue I worked about 10 minutes on Friday. I mean, I hung out for the first couple hours, but I had my daily goal in the bank, I think 12 minutes into the session. And it took me a lot of years to learn this, but I don't give my money back unless I'm having, I guess what an alcoholic would call a relapse. Every now and then I'll screw up and start whittling away at my morning gains. But generally, and this is the number one thing that's helped me, guys, over the years, if I get my morning goal in my first hour or my first trade, which normally that's when the money window is, that first hour, I quit trading or I cut my position size way down and just trade small to keep, to keep in form, if you will. But that's the number one thing to help me is ultra 100% focus in the first hour. Okay, playing gappers, playing this watch list that I'm putting out, and then trying to get, and that's when I don't want to say easy money, but that's when the easier money, there's nothing easy about trading, but that's when the easier money happens. And what happens is most traders, maybe if they make a good trade in the morning, they spend the rest of the day giving it back and maybe even taking their day into the red after a really nice morning. So I refuse to do that anymore. So I'm very content with having a 1 to 2 hour workday, right? And then I'll hang out in the chat and talk about and show charts what I'm seeing. But when my money's in the bank for the day, I quit trading. It's really, really helped me. I can't emphasize that enough. JGW, next one. This is a super thin stock. I mean, it had this big volume spike here, and that still wasn't even 2.5 million, and it's flagging ever since then. Lower highs, lower lows. So looking for this one to turn back up, but not a big fan of these really low float stocks lately. I am a big fan of them at times, but the market's not very friendly to them right now. So that's one of my least favorite. Krispy Kreme donuts had a really nice spike on Wednesday and a couple quiet inside days. I like this up over maybe 15, 13. Might get another move higher. It had great relative strength if you consider how weak the market was on Friday. Held up really well. PIRS, really nice move here. from 220 to over 3, and now we're 3 days lower. And remember, if you've ever heard these videos when I'm talking about a bounce play, you'll hear me say that I really like a narrow range, then an afternoon high of day break, and let me show you why. We had, take Friday's candle out of it, we had PIRS on Bounce Watch for Friday, right? Now let's go to the intraday and show you what happened Friday. Okay, so this is the opening candle on Friday, the opening 5-minute candle. Look what happens when it breaks that. So now we're 10 minutes in. That was the high of the day, right? Of course, the market was weak too, but keep that in mind. When I'm looking for a bounce play, what I'd like to see is a narrow range, 10, 15, 20 cents, whatever, and then an afternoon high of day break. So some people might look at that and say, well, it broke its high in the morning. His bounce play failed. No, it didn't, because I want the afternoon high of day break, not first thing in the morning. Generally, if these things are going to fail, or if they're not going to head back up on a given day when I have it on Bounce Watch, they'll fail in the first 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. All right? In other words, they'll put in their high of the day in the opening half hour generally. So I don't usually mess with them during that period. Now, if this would have come back up and the market was strong in the afternoon and then taken out the highs here, with an hour or two left in the day, you probably would have had a really nice pop. So just understand, that's what I'm looking for generally when I put something on Bounce Watch. So that's PIRS. NAV, really big volume the last couple days, and it's really beaten up. I mean, maybe 2 weeks ago, this thing was 1521 and actually hit a low on Friday of 831, closed at 885. Time to start watching this one for a bounce. Disney now, DIS. There's nothing really technical here that I love. I mean, maybe you could say 106 right here was a former high, so it might be, and it kind of was some support back here. Matter of fact, I'll just borrow this line that's an old line and move it. So I do kind of like the 106 area, right? Whoops. Recent resistance, and then also with support back here. Remember, support and resistance are areas, not exact numbers. But more than just this chart, DIS, really 4 or 5 days down in a row. The new Star Wars movie comes out on Friday. I'm not a movie reviewer. I'm not a movie expert, but I, in my heart and soul, believe that movie is going to set all-time records as far as box office. I could be wrong, but I mean, come on. Han Solo, Princess Leia, right? Luke Skywalker, all coming back, so we get to see where they ended up in. Okay, I'm sounding like a Star Wars geek, but I'm 50 years old. I'm super excited about it. My son, who's 20, all of his friends want to see it. I don't think there's a generation that doesn't want to see this. So anyway, having said that, makes this less of a chart play and more of a nerd play, my inner nerd. But I am watching for a bounce on Disney with the week coming up to that movie. This feels like a gift that this is selling off into that, all right? So that's the reason for DIS. And then lastly, I'm going to put CNP on watch. Really big volume on Friday, gave back some of its gains, but that, again, maybe with a narrow range for a while, afternoon high of day break, that becomes interesting. All right, we'll be stalking gappers in the morning as well. We work together in the chat room to spot potential gappers, and then we look for a certain thing to happen after the market opens to play those. All right, I'll give you a quick example on FNSR, and then I'm going to get out of here. Friday, for some reason, I missed this, looking for gappers in the morning. And Jane from England, one of my favorite members, she just has helped so many of us make money because she's just always focused on the right stuff. She basically slapped me in the pre-market on Friday and said, hey, moron. Okay, she didn't say that, but she said, hey, Mike, what about FNSR? And I hadn't seen it for some reason. I was looking at my scanners and I missed it. So we added that to the watch list. All right, and then here's what it looked like 4 minutes in. And this was like 2 minutes in, Jane started saying, hey, I like the way FNSR is holding up, which caught my attention. And I said, hey, guy, and then I put in this candle. I said, hey, I like this over this 2 minute candle, 13.18, worst case stop, 13.02. But I wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for Jane. And then, boom, just like that. And I got in at 13.17 or 13.18, something like that. And it like jumped to 13.40, which is fun when you're already in it. So thanks to Jane, a lot of us were already in that. If you're not already in it, you're getting, and you use a market order, you can get some nasty fills. But then just a few minutes later, I was selling up around 13.60. It went higher than that, but I had a big enough position size because I like the setup enough, I like the action, that I got my daily goal, which I hope and try to make 1,000 a day. Most days lately I hit that, and it's generally thankful to somebody in the room. So I got my 1,000 in 12 minutes in, and I was done for the day. All right, so there's an example of what we look for on a gap play. All right, I'm done babbling. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see everybody on Monday.